Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. session of the 2022 OpenSimulator Community Conference. In this session, we are pleased to introduce the presentation, Relaunching an Educational Grid in OpenSimulator. Our speaker is Kay McLennan. Kay is a professor of practice at the Tulane University School of Professional Advancement. Please check out the website found at conference.opensimulator.org for speaker bios, details of the sessions, and the full schedule of events. The session is being live streamed and recorded, so if you have questions or comments during the session, you may send tweets to @OpenSimCC with the hashtag #OSCC22. Welcome, everyone. Let's begin the session.
Thank you, Lear. Good morning to everyone that's in attendance. Boy, it's a pretty good group for early on a Sunday morning. My presentation today is focusing on the post-pandemic period in OpenSimulator, and I'm also doing the Speakeasy chat. So you'll excuse me if it takes me just a minute. Okay, terrific. The agenda of what I wanted to talk about is a follow-up to my presentation last year with the pandemic paradox, and how while we all, including myself, expected virtual learning simulation use to increase as a result of the universal move to online, the exact opposite happened in my experience. So, but now that we've moved, not that the pandemic is done with us, but we're definitely done with the pandemic. Now that we've moved into this post-pandemic era, it's exciting to see that some of the changes as a result of the pandemic really are going to work to benefit virtual simulations. I stopped asking for funding for the Tulane SOPA Metaverse during the middle of the pandemic, and students are started to express interest in getting access back. So this past fall, I relaunched a smaller SOPA Metaversity, and also the sea change to webinars enables me now to tell students about how to access the metaverse through the built-in webinars for the online courses that I teach. And as a result of that, I've got kind of a surprising finding to share with you today. So I wanted to provide you with my updated student preference feedback, what students have conveyed to me. In particular, the use of virtual simulations as walk around and slides. And then I've got just a little bit of a follow-up for what is of keen interest to me as we go forth with more OpenSimulator, I hope. What I told everyone about last year was what I discovered of the pandemic paradox, where while everyone expected to at least use virtual simulations the same amount, and as many as 65% of the folks that responded to my survey felt that they would use their virtual simulations more, for my undergraduate student participation, it dropped from a consistent 33% or 1 in 3 to 10%. Our enrollment declined precipitously for a period of time, and that included lost jobs. And uniquely to us in the Gulf region of the United States, we all had significant damage due to Hurricane Ida. So that was, of course, a consideration. A lot of students became ill or were quarantined. And also, a lot of my students are working parents who had other time constraints due to more in-home childcare. And then finally, last but not least, there was a lot of Zoom fatigue where everyone was online all the time. And I just realized I haven't kept up with my speakeasy. Students' experience with on-ground classes in Zoom, however, motivated a new interest in real-time sessions in asynchronous online courses. And further, not only do students now expect webinars and online courses, but they appreciate how webinars can make a positive impact to their learning in online courses. Again, the sea change that I feel has greatly benefited my OpenSimulator use this last year is how webinars now provide a new vehicle for introducing and orienting students to the use of virtual learning simulations. And this, of course, restarted my interest in some sets that I had built back in 2009, 2010, which were pop-out 3D handouts for students. So I got funding for a smaller grid, and because the term metaverse is so overused, I adopted metaversity, the slightly changed, but nonetheless a little bit more unique use of a name for a grid. I had to consolidate a lot of my builds. I added my student fashion shop to the auditorium. Consolidated other educational builds so that I could at least provide some loaner classroom space. And I still found space for faculty office, student galleries, and specialized training space for faculty. Still on my wish list is a sandbox for experimenting with content imports, an extra island to experiment with builds for other faculty. And some of the things that I discovered when I relaunched the grid, I had saved all my OAR files. When I uploaded them into the new grid, I had hundreds of soccer balls and other content that was hiding in the southwest corner of 2 of the 4 islands that I relaunched and put back up. And I don't want to malign the soccer ball because I believe I found the one that I had used, and it is in Wrights Plaza on Wrights Plaza Island in the OS grid in the big building, and there's no script in it. So it's just a coincidence that it happened to have been that object. So I don't want to malign that particular soccer ball. But it was interesting that that had happened, and there's no explanation other than the only thing I can think of is about 10 years ago when I first got my first OS grid, I erroneously uploaded the University of California Irvine's Universal Campus. I put it in backwards, and I'm thinking that may have been responsible for some of the aberrant behavior. The other interesting finding was that all of my media on a prim had to be reset up. As you can see, those whiteboards with big black blobs in the middle. But in general, all of the consolidations and updates related to providing more instructions to students was really a positive thing. I wish that I had done this a long time ago, where I had completely shut down the grid and then started from scratch. I think it's like moving a house. You can really get organized and set things up a little bit better. I'm now using skyboxes, something I didn't previously use very much because I need the space. So I can provide faculty with their own spaces, unique spaces, and also have some training on the sky level. And I'm hoping that a laptop grid might solve my need for more development space and a place where I can experiment with OAR and IAR imports. I'm not sure how far along I am in terms of catching up, but I'll go through the whole thing eventually. So in practice, it's just as hard as it was before to stage synchronous meetups in World. I've tried thinking that now that we've got students valuing webinars, that I can do some experiments with 3D handouts. But it turns out that some students just aren't interested in the metaverse or any iteration of it. But yet, the other student preferences that I observed from past years aren't changed. In terms of a setup, students prefer optional learning activities. They still demand or respond well to pre-created avatars and pre-placed avatars. They like a private grid. Some like a VR headset option, but the viewer really still is kind of king when it comes to how students access the metaverse. In terms of learning activities, nothing's changed. Students are too busy to do optional activities. Only focused, targeted activities that are going to be on the test are of keen interest to them. Still, in-world knowledge checks and review materials, including vocabulary flashcards, are very popular with students. Students like case study dioramas, and while there's about a third of the students that really just don't have any interest whatsoever in virtual simulations, about a third are really quite interested in it, and they're often the more academically advanced students, so I really view it as important enrichment activities. So here's my big development. This last semester, as I was using webinars to bring students up to date and to train them on how to use the virtual simulation, the feedback I got without making any changes whatsoever to any of the displays that are meant to be in-world experienced as students are in-world and walking around. 50% of the virtual students say the virtual simulations that I demonstrated were more engaging than PowerPoint slides. So this is one of those B.F. Skinner moments where when you find something interesting, drop everything else and study it. This is what I'm going to do next. And of course, simultaneously, we've all been introduced to Chat GPT capabilities where I can actually give my NPCs in OpenSim personalities, artificial intelligent personalities. So I plan to make my case study characters more interactive, as well as to make the content that I demonstrate more webinar ready, and collect some more feedback from students. Another is that right after I made some video clips for a different presentation where I set up a whole lot of NPCs for the video clip, and students saw the video clip, there was a little bit of a fear of missing out going on. And so I had more interest, following the launch of my video clips with NPCs. Here's what I want to close with is a plea to OpenSim developers. I don't know how, but if only the OpenSim viewer could be integrated into our standard learning management systems, Canvas, Blackboard, D2L, Moodle. Boy, that would be a game changer for OpenSim. Also, one of the things that I believe is only available in the Singularity viewer is the use of the URI at login. That is just one more step. I have I'm using the Firestorm viewer because it seems to be a little bit more stable than the Singularity viewer is right now. But it's only the Singularity viewer that has that URI piece. When I was in Second Life recently, I'm still in the Singularity viewer group, and just out of the blue, there was a note saying that somebody's updating the viewer, so that'll be great. If you haven't seen this before, I just want to call your attention to a really interesting and useful feature for educators, and that's the Second Life viewer has all these complete avatars, mesh avatars, that are built right into the viewer. I thought that was dynamo. And then just in general for all of us, the more communication channels we can keep set up and maintain. I get a lot out of the different blogs I follow. And of course, I'm particularly eager for faculty to share their experiences if they set up their own laptop grids, which is one of my ambitions. And also especially for new users of OpenSim, I just want to call your attention to the Educator Emporium on Wrights Plaza. It has some resources for setting up your grid and learning simulations. I had in mind I was going to completely redo the shop. I called it the Educator Commons first, but thinking maybe something more store-oriented would, be a better descriptor. I changed the name and had in mind I was going to redo the entire thing. But then I got my grid. My grid funding came through. So that's on the back burner for another day. That's all I wanted to share. And I want to open it up to any questions if we have any time, Lear.
Yes, thank you, Kay. Did you see the question from Lisa Laxton? She asks, have your students and faculty been using the viewer to create content for their assignments?
Not a lot, a little bit. I'll show you what, let me open up and get a link here. I created a equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging and accessibility exercise for students on one of my islands. I'm putting it into the chat now. And so what I make available to students is their own gallery where they can create their EDI statement, or they could also use it for other work showcases. I was having a little bit of difficulty setting up my own DEI statement, but it all sort of came together when I started making mine in a diorama format. So that's what I've been used to for these last 10 plus years.
Oh, that's great. And Beth Ghostraven asks, could you share out a landmark for the Education Emporium?
Yes. Beth, I'm going to look through my inventory and send one to you. But if you look on the screen now, here is, it's Wright Plaza Island, and the coordinates are 211, 35, 21. But give me, I put, did I do that right? Yeah. But give me a minute to look through my inventory.
Well, thank you, Kay. That was a fantastic session. As a reminder to our audience, you will want to check out conference.opensimulator.org to see what is coming up in the conference schedule. You won't want to miss our next session, which will begin at 7:30 a.m. in this keynote region, and it is entitled Cultivate, Collaborate, celebrate, and innovate. We also encourage you to visit the OSCC22 Poster Expo in the OSCC Expo 3 region to find accompanying information on presentations and explore the hypergrid resources in OSCC Expo 2 region, along with the sponsor and crowdfunder booths located throughout all of the OSCC Expo regions. Thank you again to our speaker and to the audience.